It's a beautiful day for a top seed showdown. Golden Knights closing out round robin play today against the Colorado Avalanche, and it's going to be an exciting matchup. Top seed in the Western Conference up for grabs between these two. Alongside analyst Mike McKenna, I'm Stormy Bonantoni. In addition to your pregame tune-up today, we'll also give you a little look back at the game against the St. Louis Blues, which again was a very exciting, crazy game.
Yeah.
We'll take a little look at what's going on around the Western Conference and in the league. Speaking of which, I mean, just a crazy,
what a day
crazy
for hockey
day.
yesterday. Eliminations and comebacks and big-time upsets. I mean, the dreaded number 12 seed, they're moving on.
Both of them.
Montreal and Chicago. So, yeah, I mean, big moment. We don't know what's going to happen. We've seen it in this qualifying tournament. It's been crazy to watch. It's unpredictable. It's a lot of fun, and it's more hockey than you can ever imagine.
How much have you enjoyed postseason play so far?
I'm loving it, and I'm almost to the point where I get a couple games into it, and I'm like, I don't know if I can take much more of this, because like the drama, and then, well, especially with the Golden Knights side, trying to think of, well, who could they potentially play? Is it maybe Arizona or Chicago? So there's a lot to take in, but ultimately it's just great to have hockey back and so exciting to see some of these upsets happen.
Well, one of those exciting games that we didn't really know what was going to happen for a while was the Golden Knights game on Thursday against the St. Louis Blues. They had to come back from down 2-0, from down 4-3, eventually win it 6-4. There were a lot of ups and downs in that game, Mike, but mostly ups. What really stood out to you?
Yeah, the ups are that they just massively outshot the St. Louis Blues, and they did so because their puck possession was outstanding. And the diverse attack, look at this, 17 of 18 Golden Knights players had a shot on goal during the game against St. Louis. 11 players recorded a point, 5 of 6 defensemen. These are great numbers to have. It speaks to the four lines that the Golden Knights want to be able to roll at all times. They don't want to be a one-dimensional team. They've got to make sure that everybody's going, and that's a great example of it. When you get contributions through your lineup like that, it also gives your team the ability to have energy throughout the game because they're rolling all four lines. So total package, there were some mistakes, some catastrophic ones, I would even say at times, that allowed to the 4 goals against. But aside from that, it was a very good offensive game. Lots of puck possession for the Golden Knights.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that offensive game, because you talk about the need to want to roll 4 lines, and the third line maybe is arguably one of the most encouraging things I think we've seen from the Golden Knights, whether it's through training camp, through the exhibition, and now that line of Nick Cousins, Nick Waugh, and Alex Tuch has shown up time and time again, combined for 5 points against St. Louis.
And, during the season, the third line was kind of a black hole for the Golden Knights at times. There wasn't the point production. Alex Tuch had been battling injury. They couldn't find the right chemistry. Well, you could tell in training camp that was a main point of focus. Initially it was going to be Chandler Stevenson playing on that line with Max Pacioretty out right now. He's gone up to the top. Chandler Stevenson on the left side with Carlson and Stone. So Nick Cousins draws in. It's proven to be a great combination so far. Nick Cousins, 5 points, a couple games here if you include exhibition as well. So I really like the chemistry of that line. Tuch with 2 goals, finding his stride, really hitting what he does best, getting to the front of the net, and that combination with Nick Waugh down the middle, really rangy. I love how that line plays together. Full width of the ice, good forecheck. It's been a winning combination so far.
Well, Alex Tuch lost 10 pounds. Nick Waugh found it. I love just the energy we saw put in the offseason, and not whatever this offseason was, the pause season.
Yeah.
But we saw Alex Tuch score 2 goals. Shea Theodore also scored 2 goals, and another big emphasis under Pete DeBoer has been activating D, getting the blue liners into the rush, and we saw another example of that come Thursday night.
Time and time again, you hear Pete DeBoer talk about how it's so important to have your D active in the rush. And the reason for that is because you need to exit your zone clean, crisp, quickly. Well, the D was involved in the offense by all means. Again, 5 of 6 had points. Yeah. Alec Martinez hit the post twice.
Hit 2 posts.
He didn't have a point, and he might have had the most production aside from Shea Theodore from the back end. It just shows how the hockey gods work sometimes. But also on the defensive side. It wasn't just on the offensive. You look at how Nate Schmidt played, how others did, working really hard to make sure that they make things good for their teammates. Watch Nate Schmidt here. On his horse, busting back on Zach Sanford. This is a really tough play to get back and not take a penalty.
Yeah.
No penalty. No penalty shot. He beat the puck carrier because he skated hard. He back-checked with a purpose. He got to the puck. He didn't take a call. That's indicative of how hard the Golden Knights are playing. And I think, too, for Nate Schmidt, there's probably a little bit of redemption on the line. He had an uncharacteristically bad turnover on the first goal against it. I'm sure he was beating himself up over. Those type of plays are not just game-changing, but they resonate throughout your bench. You know, you look down the lineup on your defensive core, and the guys look at you, and you come back to the bench, and, I mean, they're slapping you on the hip, and they're happy with you. And why? Because they can see that effort, and it's contagious.
Well, and somebody else who had a really great effort and also had his first NHL career goal was another defenseman, Zach Whitecloud. And I'm so happy for him that he was able to get this goal and get it in the postseason at a critical time, tied the game 4-4.
Well, watch this play from Nick Waugh. It's a great forecheck, but Zach Whitecloud, he's looking at this going, dinner time, big eyes. He's almost at the bottom of the circle. That's a defenseman. And, I mean, he hammers this. Look at he's so excited. He hammers this shot. I mean, it's like he's stepping up to the tee box when he only needs a 3-wood and he brought the driver. He crushed that thing. But it speaks to his game, though. You know, Stormy, he's really coming into his own in the NHL. For defensemen in the league, the first priority, of course, is to play defense. And you've seen that with Whitecloud. His game has grown there. He's taking on greater responsibility, more minutes, and especially on the penalty kill. He's been an integral part of that for the Golden Knights, which, by the way, was 3 for 3 the other night. Very good sign for the penalty kill. It's something they've worked on. But Pete DeBoer talked about how, for Zach Whitecloud, the offense will come. And that's a great example because the offensive instincts of dropping down that low into a play, you know, for some people, that's kind of risky. But no, his hockey sense knew that was an appropriate time to go, make the play, get down low, receive that pass from Waugh, deposit your first NHL goal, and then it's party time. But not for very long, right?
Yeah. But I will say Pete DeBoer did say that, yes, offense isn't a big part of his game right now, but he's been taking steps toward it every single game. Yeah, It's really, really cool. But, yes, he's so humble. I would love for you guys to take a listen to what Zach Whitecloud said after the game, after he scored that goal.
No, it's definitely fun to contribute, and obviously in a time like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, you score your first one, and you just got to get back to work right away. And that's what hockey is in a game like that, and important game like that. So yeah, it's definitely exciting, and enjoy the moment, but get back to work right away.
Score your first one and get back to work. And how about the little smirk look from Mark Stone over to Zach Whitecloud?
Mark Stone's going, all right, buddy, you got it.
Well, like, it's a balance. It's like, okay, is Mark Stone saying, oh, come on, enjoy it? Or is he saying, attaboy,
it's
taught
a little,
you well.
it's for
Good
sure
answer.
a little bit of both. I mean, here's the thing. Like, you appreciate the seriousness for sure, you know, and you're happy to see Zach Whitecloud embrace his moment and then focus right back on getting to work. But there is a little playfulness in the smirk, too, where Mark Stone's thinking, all right, man, you just scored your first goal. It's okay to gloat a little bit. But it's businesslike, you know, and you have to appreciate that. Then you can tell that really across the board through the Golden Knights, they're so focused on trying to go for the Stanley Cup. Yeah. You hear it in every interview, and that was a great example of it.
I did like a question, though, also to Zach Whitecloud in that press conference asking about Cold Stone. And if, like, we get donuts in the arena at T-Mobile, like, after a shutout, can we get something if Zach Whitecloud scores a goal? What would your Cold Stone order be if you got a free one?
Oh, I have to have nuts in it, and I usually like to have some mix of chocolate. But I'm not like a chocolate ice cream guy. I like a vanilla base. But I like some crunch, you know, so you could mix in even
He's
maybe
so
like
vanilla.
Yeah, I'll take that. But like waffle,
kidding.
you know what the best at Cold Stone? The waffle cone pieces that they mix in.
Okay.
Those are so good. Little crunch, little sweetness. Love them.
I like the waffle cone that has the hardened chocolate on it already.
That's pretty. That's like next level.
Game changer, people.
That's definitely a once a week thing at most.
Well, for Zach Whitecloud, twice a week.
Twice. That's true.
It keeps him in check.
Yeah. If he keeps scoring, he can have as much as he wants.
Yeah, right? Well, like we talked about off the top, it was a really crazy day in the NHL yesterday. And in the Western Conference, let's just start with that 12-5 matchup. The Blackhawks advancing and potentially facing the Golden Knights next. If the VGK get a win against the Avs, they will face the Blackhawks. And if the Avs get a win, that's who they would face as well. So.
Well, you know, the Blackhawks are really coming into their own in some ways. This is a team who was really finding their way through the course of the 1920 season. There were spurts where they were pretty good, and then it kind of started to come together towards the end. They've got a lot of young players. They still have the older core. They still have Taves and Kane, Duncan Keith, Corey Crawford, but they've really been backfilled by a lot of entry-level contracts. So you look at somebody like a Kirby Doc, who's much like Alex Tuck. He gained weight, he gained strength over the pause. It was actually beneficial, and that's a player who's playing with a lot of confidence. So the Blackhawks are dangerous. Crawford's playing at a really high level, but to knock off the Oilers, who with Connor McDavid,
At
Leon
home, in
Draisaitl,
Edmonton,
everybody
at home,
thinks these are the best players on earth. How can they possibly lose? Because it's a team sport.
Yep.
Newsflash, takes everybody, and it takes intensity, and it takes hunger. And you saw that out of the Blackhawks. You didn't see it as much out of Edmonton. Blackhawks were the better team in that series. They deserved to win it.
Yeah, absolutely insane. And then you've got the Coyotes upsetting the Preds, and that's whoever the number 2 seed in the Western Conference will face moving forward as well. So, like, a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah, and another potential matchup for the Golden Knights. They could face Arizona or Chicago, depending on what happens today against Colorado. Arizona, Nashville, that to me was a pretty even series. Darcy Kemper, absolutely outstanding. I believe he had 48 saves in the final game to close that one out for the Coyotes. So goaltending, very much a strength for the Coyotes, as well as defense. They found their scoring. And again, it comes down to hunger and intensity. That's another team that seems to have found another level to their game.
So there were 6 elimination games yesterday. 5 of those games saw teams booting, leaving the bubble.
See you
but
later.
one team kept their hopes alive. How about the Toronto Maple Leafs scoring 3 goals in the last 4 minutes last night?
Unbelievable. Talk about a comeback. 4 minutes left, down 3-0. They pull their goaltender, and they get one, and you're thinking, okay, well, at least it's not a shutout. They proved that they were going to stick in the game. Well, prior to that, Jason Spezza, of all people, I don't know if he has 3 fights in his NHL career, drops the gloves. Suddenly the bench is fired up. Toronto scores 3 goals with the net empty. Columbus misses about 5 open nets to seal the game. Goes to overtime, Austin Matthews. You need your biggest players, your best players in the big moments. Tavares to Matthews. Game over, takes it to game 5.
And we talk about how tough it is right now for the players we imagine to have to manufacture intensity. A great way to do that is to score goals in bunches, and that's exactly what happened.
It does. And man, how can you bet against Toronto right now coming off of that type of moment? There's a lot of momentum that comes with that, especially for the goaltender on the opposing club. Elvis Merzlikins, who had played absolutely lights out for Columbus. 1 goal goes in, too. You could just tell, I've been in that position before. Your head's spinning. It feels like the sky's falling, and next thing you know, it's 4 goals and you lose the game. If you score in bunches like that, it's easy to gain momentum. It's not dissimilar to what the Golden Knights did against St. Louis the other night. You get a couple of quick ones, and it turns the tide of the game really quickly.
Well, it was a crazy day. Like I said, we also saw Pittsburgh out of the running now. Just a whole lot going on around the NHL. But a very big game coming up today with the Vegas Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche. That top seed is on the line. Let's take a look just at how we got here, how the Golden Knights and the Avs phased out in the round robin. So the Golden Knights won their exhibition, as did the Avs. Both of them are undefeated since arriving in Edmonton. The VGK off of a couple of crazy comeback wins. St. Louis in that game against Colorado, it was 1-1. We thought we were going to overtime, and then Nazem Kadri with 0.1 seconds on the clock. They finish it out, and then game 2, a dominant performance from Colorado against Dallas.
The buzzer beater.
Gosh. St. Louis is just having nightmares about that.
Oh, man. I remember watching that and thinking, this has to be the closest goal in history of the NHL.
Insane.
I mean, you could hardly tell at 0.01 seconds that it was across the line. I'm not really sure how they could tell. But that type of losing a game like that's tough. And St. Louis was not very good against the Golden Knights, and part of that's because the Golden Knights were so good. That's the reason why. But St. Louis has really relied on Binnington. He held them in against the Colorado Avalanche, and man, the Avalanche, they waxed Dallas the other night too.
Yeah.
This is a team that's firing all cylinders offensively, but Colorado defends better than people give them credit for, and they have 2 excellent goaltenders in Francouz and Grubauer. So looking a lot from them. And for the Golden Knights, it's a matter of stringing together another 60-minute game. They've got to find that level of consistency throughout.
Well, obviously the Golden Knights didn't have the best success against the Avs in the regular season. They dropped both of their games at T-Mobile Arena. It seemed like in a lot of ways when we were talking to the players post-game, they talked about just how much faster it seemed like Colorado was in certain moments, and they've shown that in this round robin play so far. How do you slow down a team like Colorado?
Well, it all comes down to how you defend, actually. You've got to be really good in your zone and quick. Your zone exits have to be precise. And it comes down to you don't want to let Colorado have the puck. You've got to possess the puck. So if the Golden Knights have it on their stick more than the opposing club, it bodes well for them. How do you do it, though? It's easy to say you just defend quickly. You know, there's an underlying meaning to that when the players talk about it. And what it really means is that every player in the defensive zone, not just the defenseman, they have to hustle. They've got to work hard to get to spots to create passing lanes for their teammates. So the forwards, the centermen, they have to support their defensemen, give them outs, talk, be vocal to one another so that they go cleanly. You don't want to have to flip the puck out of your zone or put it off the glass and then hope you recover it in the neutral zone. If you keep that puck on your stick, a couple clean passes from the D zone, move quickly through the neutral zone, that helps out a lot. And ultimately, when you're on defense against Colorado, you have to slow them down in the neutral zone. So you have to prevent them from getting to center ice. Try to funnel them out towards the boards, take them wide so that people like Braden McNabb can back into him at the blue line, give him the big hip, slow him down.
The bump,
Our
the
buddy
booty bump.
Darren Millard with one of the most Canadian things I've heard, the bummy check, he calls it. But it's true, though. You want to funnel them right there so you can slow them down. So those two things, D-zone exits and be really, really good in the neutral zone.
Well, and Riley Smith, when he spoke to me yesterday, had a very similar sentiment. Let's hear from him on his thoughts on Colorado.
Yeah, we didn't have our best games against Colorado. There's no doubt about that. You know, it wasn't even their star players that were really scoring against us, and it was their whole team. So they caught us on some bad nights. We expect that to change. You know, just one of those teams that really got us this year. And the best thing we can do against a team like that is defend smartly and defend quickly. So those are a couple of things that we'll try to implement and really try to slow them down, especially through the neutral zone.
You know, and it was interesting. He said it wasn't the Stars against Colorado that really were the ones scoring goals in those games. What do you see when you look at that matchup as an all-around Colorado team?
I see Pierre-Edouard Bellemare.
Ah.
Knights fans know him.
Yep.
I mean, he had a hat trick, fourth-line player. Now, Golden Knights fans know how effective he is, but that's exactly what Riley Smith's talking about, that 4 lines of depth with Colorado. It's easy to really focus on Rantanen and McKinnon and Landeskog, these superstars up front that can really fly, that are super skilled. It's not just that any longer. They've got Donskoy. They've got a couple of other players on the front that are really skilled, and they're bringing it deep. You know, they can score with all 4 lines. And again, the teams that are the top seeds in these conference play in the round robins, there's a reason. It's because they're deep. You know, they're not just relying on a first line. And that's kind of the difference between Colorado of last season versus this one. They filled in those gaps through the lineup. And you got to be aware at any time on the ice. And it speaks to how the Golden Knights know that their third and fourth line matchups are so critical to these games. They have to win that battle. That's part of the reason why. And Alex Tuch having 2 goals is so big. Cousins coming in, playing well. Nick Waugh finding that in the middle. So you're looking from your bottom 6 to go out, have a great game on top of everyone else. It's got to be a team effort, but you really need those guys to step up.
How important in your mind, is this game really, not just because it is a battle for the top seed, but in terms of a test for the Golden Knights moving forward in the playoff picture?
Yeah, I think it's more for the mental aspect of playing against a top team like Colorado than it is for the seeding. Now, the seeding's important for sure. Pete DeBoer wants to have that last line change. He wants to have the tactical advantage if he can have it. And there's ego and pride on the line. You want to come out of this being the number 1 seed. Golden Knights have worked incredibly hard to get that. But to me, it's that battle against the top team. You know, you saw what the Golden Knights did against St. Louis, and they just dominate them. St. Louis hasn't looked very good, but Colorado has. They've been really good since this return to play. So when you go head-to-head against somebody that you know is a really strong opponent, you're so eager. You know, the nervousness isn't there because you can't wait to go out and prove what your team can do. That's where I think that the mental edge will come. for the Golden Knights to play a good game this evening and then carry that into the first round of playoffs.
And we kind of brushed over it just a little bit earlier, but there were those defensive mistakes that we saw against St. Louis that did ultimately lead to a puck in the back of the net. So what are things that the Golden Knights can do to ensure that doesn't happen against a team like Colorado? Because just because they've had success in these comeback wins the last 2 games, and they've been very exciting to watch, you can't really have that kind of a game against Colorado.
No, you have to limit your unforced errors. You cannot turn the puck over in your defensive zone. You can't make hoper passes. Again, and it kind of goes back to that 5-man unit premise where you have to make sure everybody's available. If you're throwing pucks off the glass, flipping pucks out, if you miss one of those, next thing you know, it's down your throat. So they've got to be really diligent and not create problems for themselves. You want to make Colorado work for their chances. You don't want to give them to them. And the Golden Knights have played so well from a system standpoint that a lot of it just comes down to those minute individual errors that have happened. Now, thankfully, there hasn't been many of them. And that's a great sign. But just imagine if 2 or 3 of those had been out of the last game, what that would have looked like. You're looking at a 5-1 win, a 6-1 win. It just makes things easier on you. You don't have to have the cardiac moment of the comeback kids in the third period every game. You want to get out to a lead, maintain that, and play to your strengths through the whole game and take the fight to the opponent rather than being on the defensive.
And this is the first time that the Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche will be playing each other under Pete DeBoer. So this is a very different team, and
point.
Robin Lehner in net in itself is going to be a difference maker as well.
Panda's hopping in there.
Yes.
And by the way, some fantastic Panda merchandise at the Arsenal at City National Arena.
It's awesome, honestly.
Did you check some of that out?
Yeah, I was down there yesterday, and I'm going to be getting my Panda swag because all of the shirts are really cool. Plus, I have like a little 6-year-old sister, and she was
she's
like
gotta be all over
gushing
this.
over the little stuffed animals. So tops, highly recommend the Panda merch at the team store.
Yeah, it's aside from the merch, it is a big game for Leonard to step in and make
It
sure
is.
that he's showing that he's ready to go for playoffs. Had a nice game against Dallas, but it is a competition too. I'm sure he would love to start the first game, and who knows, Pete DeBoer said he's open to anything. So there's a lot to prove, and against a team like this, it's a great opportunity for Robin Lehner. He hasn't had very good games against them this season previously. So again, as a goaltender, you're not scared of that. You embrace that challenge. You want to show that you can make that happen, play well for your teammates, get the win at the end.
Not a large sample size of Robin Lehner yet as a Golden Knights, but he has won every matchup that he's been in so far. Do you like his style, perhaps, against a team like Colorado? I know he hasn't had the best of luck, but like, do you like the way that he plays compared to the way that they play?
Well, when we talk about style with goaltenders, everybody has their own unique way to play. So do I like the way he plays? Yes. I think that what he does fits his strengths as well as you can imagine. Because he's such a big body, he doesn't have to move as much. He can play deeper. He can use his ability to read plays. He's excellent at that. He's got great hockey sense when it comes to the puck coming off the stick. He reads that very well. You do think of a team like Colorado, though, that is very good going east to west. They can move the puck laterally very quickly. And for someone like Robin, who doesn't have to cover as much ground, you'd think that would be a strength for him against them. And again, we're just projecting, right? But you do see that. That is something that you'd think, hey, because he's not moving as much, he's not opening as many holes, he can stay square. It bodes well for him. And again, it comes down to playing to your own strengths, your own styles. Marc-Andre loves to be aggressive. That's his style. That's what he has built his successful career out of. So you got to play to your strengths.
Well, and Robin Lehner actually said pretty recently in an interview that early on in his career, maybe he was too aggressive. Maybe he was getting out of his crease too much, and he had to settle into the game that he has now.
Well, and I saw it firsthand. We were teammates in Binghamton, New York, 8 years ago, right? It was Robin's second year pro. So he was coming off being the Calder Cup champion. The playoff MVP in the American Hockey League was Robin Lehner, his rookie season as a 20-year-old. So you talk about a little bit of playoff success. Those things that you do in the minors, in junior hockey, in college, you know how to win in the playoffs. It transfers to the NHL. Now, it's a step. It's a different game for sure, but it does transfer. And for Robin, I saw it. He used to be a little bit wild at times, and then he got hold of somebody who really told him, hey, Robin, you're a big guy. You're as big as a house. Rick Wamsley was the goalie coach there. I'll never forget Rick Wamsley quite literally saying, Robin, you're as big as a house. Just stand there. Now, and he didn't mean quite literally just stand there, but what he did mean was, hey,
Read and react.
just read and react. Be calm. Use your strengths. And he's done that. He took those words as gospel, and his game has just steadily improved over time.
Well, last thing for you before we head out of here, just curious, if you're a fan watching the game today, what's something that you think that they need to be watching out for, whether it's a key matchup, whether it's a key stat that they need to keep an eye on? What's something that Golden Knights fans should be on the lookout for today?
Well, we talked about it previously and we just touched quickly on it, that the Golden Knights are good on the penalty kill. That's something that's got to continue. We can talk about 5-on-5 play all we want. The Golden Knights have seen a lot of improvement in their special teams. They had 2 power play goals last game, another good sign. You don't want to let the Colorado Avalanche have a lot of power plays. They've had 10 in the 2 games in the round robin, which means that 1, they're working really hard and they're possessing the puck, but 2, they also know they're dangerous on it. They have that ability to score on the power play. So you've got to stay out of the box, but when you're eventually in the box, because it will happen most likely, you've got to clamp down, and we've seen progress in that area for the Golden Knights on both ends, PK and PP, and that's a good sign.
So special teams, limit mistakes, slow them down.
Yeah, move your feet, slow them down, special teams. We could go on and on.
Yeah,
really.
I know. It's going to be a really fun, exciting game. Again, top seed in the Western Conference on the line between the Colorado Avalanche and Vegas Golden Knights. You can watch that game on NBC or listen to it on the Vegas Golden Knights radio network. Dan Duva with the call along with Gary Lawless. And don't forget, if you want a nice little second screen action, you can make sure to tune in to Fortress at Home during the game as well. We'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be hanging out.
I may or may not be cranking a siren.
I got to do that in the
Siren
Fortress. What a
2020.
moment.
Oh my gosh, that's like my dream,
I nearly
Mike.
threw my shoulder out because it doesn't have like a brake on it, and I was giving her absolutely sending it as hard as I could, and it just kept going, and I had to just let go of it.
Oh
so
my
be
gosh.
careful.
Okay, I'm
We
gonna
want
do
your
some
shoulder-
push-ups beforehand.
We need your rotator cuff. We need that.
Okay. But anyways, guys, it's going to be a really, really exciting game. Make sure that you are watching. It's going to be a lot of fun. That is all for this edition of the Morning Skate Report for Mike McKenna. I'm Stormy Bonantoni. Enjoy the game.